My name is Steve Cotler, and I am the author of this book. Cheesie Mack is not a genius or anything. It's about a boy whose name is Ronald Mack, but his nickname is Cheesie. This book is about the last day of 5th grade. The next day is going to be graduation, and then a class party, and then the first day of summer. This whole book, 227 pages, takes place in 3 days. I have two main characters. Cheesie, and he has a friend whose name is Georgie. Let's talk about Cheesie's personality and Georgie's, all right? Now I want you to be sort of reading detectives. I want you to listen to what I said and tell me as much as you can from what Cheesie has written about the personalities of Georgie and Cheesie. Good readers don't just read the words, they actually read what the words mean. What kind of characters are they? What do we know about Cheesie from the way he talks about things? If somebody writes and they make lists, what does that tell you about? Yes?
He's organized.
Organized, yes, he certainly is. What else do we know about Georgie? Is he really going to do these things? Listen carefully, be a detective here. What do you think?
I think Georgie wants to do other things.
Georgie, yes. So Georgie is a bit of a prankster, isn't he?
The big thing we do in 4th grade, I can tell you, is really developing characters and characteristics.
We've talked a lot about characters, their personalities, who they are. A good writer will write a book where the characters seem real to you, where they do things that make sense. I want to talk about plot. Who can tell me what plot is? Yes.
Like a plan.
A plan, yes. What else?
So the plot is how the story happens.
Ah, that's the word I'm looking for. The plot is what happens. Let me draw kind of a diagram of a story. It starts over here, and then something else happens here, and something else happens here. It gets a little more exciting, and then we get to the climax of the story where everything kind of explodes and all the things happen, and then we kind of resolve some things, and finally we end up over here where, you know, if this were a fairy tale right here, we would say, and they lived happily ever after, right? This is where the once upon a time starts, and this is the happily ever after, and this is where the princess saves the prince from drowning in the moat when the alligators are biting at his feet, right? That kind of thing. So normally you think about this as looking like this, right? And that would be the way when a writer starts to write a story, he might map out all these events, what happens, what happens, what happens, and I'm just going to write from here to here to here, and then I'll get to the end of my story. When you get to a place like this, and you know that you're going to go from there to there, sometimes your characters tell you, wait a minute, you need to say something else here. So I want to write something that the kids will identify with. They'll say, oh yeah, I have a dog, or, oh yeah, I have a smelly dog. And then I want to do something that is kind of a twist on it. A little bit like the twist I did when I gave my main character a name that means something the opposite of what he is. I wanted to toss something in there that you didn't know. What I've told you is actually the subplot. The mouse plot, which is sort of looks like this. It bounces around the main plot. There's also another plot which has to do with his sister Goon, and that plot kind of goes like this. But the main plot, which I'm not going to tell you because I want you guys to read it, the main plot is actually a mystery. So you have a main plot, you have lots of maybe 2 or 3 subplots in the story. That's what keeps it interesting. But if you're a good writer, you make sure that everything keeps flowing, and then when you get to by the time you get to the end, everything connects together, and the reader finishes the story with a sense of, oh yeah, I get it, yeah. Some people ask me what I do for a living, and they think that what I am is this, right? They think that that's what I am. But you know what I really am? A rewriter.
The rewriting part, it's like, oh, if he could have come at the beginning of the year. Because it's like pulling teeth every time you give something back.
Oh, I already wrote it. Do I have to rewrite it? Well, the revising, the editing, and the rewriting is hard, but it's incredibly important. I rewrote this 8 times. 8 rewrites. And you know something? The 8th version, which is what you see right here in this book, is better than the others. Yes.
What inspired you to be an author?
What inspired me? Well, as you can probably tell, I really like telling stories. And I've always told stories ever since I was, I don't know, maybe in 4th grade.
How did you come up with all the ideas for the book?
My imagination. I knew I wanted to do a story about a kid who was smart and curious. And you know what? His life is a lot more interesting because of that.
What's the feeling that you have when you know that people like your book?
No, it's a wonderful feeling. It's kind of like being a star. You feel pretty good?
This is great. I think it's great. The kids are totally hooked. Are you kidding me?